Welcome to Keep Traveling, your African story, the only podcast that shares the real voices and journeys shaping African tourism. I'm your host, 𝐸𝐸𝐸, and through my inbound tour operation, Keep Traveling, I've had the privilege of connecting travelers from all around the world with the magic of Africa. This podcast is my way of opening that world up to you, a place to learn about the people, properties, and opportunities that make travel across this continent so very special. Today I have somewhat of a different kind of guest. I'm delighted to introduce Vanessa Gordon, who's the founder and CEO of 𝐸𝐸𝐸, a culinary travel and lifestyle media and event planning company out of the Hamptons in New York, who joins me to share her African story after having spent some time in Uganda recently. Vanessa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I haven't had the opportunity to speak to many people about traveling through Uganda and their experiences. When did you travel?
I was there November 28th through December 10th of this past year.
Okay, and were you traveling on your own? Were you in a group with people?
I physically traveled there alone, but I had met up with a group of 3 other journalists, and we were touring about with about 3 to 4 other people came in and out, so to say. But I traveled with the local tour operators there and people from the Ugandan Tourism Board.
Okay, and how did you set up this trip to Uganda? What was behind the whole idea of going to Uganda?
Sure. You know what's fascinating is I was invited to go and was presented the opportunity with the hopes of pushing travel to Uganda, particularly for people from the New York tri-state area. To be honest, at first I was a bit hesitant. I was always curious and fascinated with the country. But unfortunately, what is portrayed in the media here was not so good, I'll just say. And though I know it's a beautiful country known for gorilla trekking, and as opposed to the big 5, it's known for the big 7, to include the gorillas and the chimpanzees. But more for safety, I was a bit concerned. And it's a level 3 on travel.gov for the United States for travel advisory. However, I had such a beautiful time when I was in Kenya. I had also traveled to Egypt, and I'm adventurous, so I said yes. And it's fascinating. When I accepted the trip, I only had a loose itinerary, if you will. So it was, we'll be going to Queen Elizabeth National Park. We'll be spending some time in Kampala, little things like that. So I didn't have the full gutted itinerary, literally until I arrived.
Since you brought up the subject of security and you've been and gone, did you at any time feel insecure amongst the people, amongst the animals, that type of thing?
Not amongst the people at all. They truly were extremely friendly, open, most relaxed people, fun. I never knew that Kampala had a buzzing nightlife scene, for instance. So I actually want to go back, perhaps just for that, just to that experience that. What was quite fascinating was I was actually truly terrified when I was trekking to see the chimpanzees. When you're trekking into the jungles there, you're literally about 10 to 15 meters away from them. But then all of a sudden, they'll start to move and they'll hear a noise from far about, and that chimpanzee will react to that noise and become extremely aggressive. They could just charge. From what I've been told from the different camps, it's extremely rare for them to directly attack a human being. It has rarely, if ever, happened. And something came over me where I was truly dizzy, terrified, and I actually had to sit down. And I was one of the first individuals to step away from the experience. Though it was an incredible time, that was truly frightening. But being with the gorillas was the most magical experience. And when you're with the gorillas, and even with the chimpanzees, you have a dedicated hour window with them.
From what I can see, there's no marks on your face or anything like that. So you weren't attacked and you managed to survive it. So this was more of a sort of personal fear than something that you would be telling other people about visiting the same place, right?
I don't know if I would necessarily openly tell that. I'm just more sharing that because what's fascinating was more of for me, I guess perhaps a fight or flight response. I couldn't even control what was happening to my body. My body was actually acting out in fear, perhaps reacting to the noises and the commotion, if you will. So I had a hard time coming down.
Yeah, listen, I'm sure a few local Ugandans, if you took them down the streets of Manhattan, they'd probably feel the same way that you felt walking through the forest.
I can understand why.
Yeah, no, that's great. Where did you stay while you were doing this adventure of yours in Uganda?
We had stayed at 3 different properties. We stayed at Pakuba Safari Lodge was the first. That was within a short drive away, or really within the Queen Elizabeth National Park. And another really great property we stayed at was Silverback Lodge, near where we were trekking the gorillas in the southwestern corner of the country. Silverback Lodge, it's a new property. The owners are from South Africa, and the property was it was a boutique property with each of our rooms had our own jacuzzis, which was really cool. The breakfast, the food was gourmet, top notch, and the staff there was phenomenal, terrific. What was nice there too is, and I'll say this, is there was reliable Wi-Fi. Now, I'll tell you my best advice. I had to because I had to continue working when I was there. So it was a bit frustrating from time to time in some of the areas where we truly did not have any Wi-Fi, or we would have to use someone's hotspot, and even then it was spotty. What I recommend is for anyone traveling there, unless you absolutely must, do not bring your work there or do not schedule meetings or calls. There is a significant chance that the internet would just shut down at the different properties.
And that's okay as well. We all need a little bit of a detox. I was just recently
Yes.
in the Kruger National Park and I visited a camp doing some podcasts, and there was no connection whatsoever, no telephone.
Right.
And yeah, it was a great 48 hours, I must be honest. I think we can all enjoy a good detox from time to time.
No, definitely. Yeah, that happened at Chimpundo Lodge, but they were fantastic with handling it. I was actually able to get a call out. Chimpundu is a luxury lodge in the Kabali National Park. And again, gorgeous amenities. The rooms are spread out. The bedrooms will have mosquito nets. Silverback did not. And of course, it depends upon how sealed off the room is. But again, what's really cool too is if you could get a lodge or a resort there that does your laundry. That's awesome, because I'll tell you, when you're in Africa traveling, that is one amenity that I recommend to anyone, is get a place that will have laundry access for you.
Yeah, and those 3 places that you spoke about, they managed to do your laundry for you?
Yes.
So tell me, what sort of level, as far as a grading council level, were you traveling 4-star, 5-star level?
Yeah, I would say we were traveling 4-star. If you go 5-star, that was more, I would say, there are even properties that select properties have helicopter landing access. Because I'll tell you, when you're driving from each park, it could take you at least over an hour or more just to exit the park. Then, for instance, from where we were gorilla trekking back to Kampala, that was a 9-hour drive. I think it actually took us 11 hours because we stopped for lunch and other breaks and gasoline and such. So it's a bit of time.
But the trekking by car and the 9-hour journeys, that's all part of the journey, right? That's all part of the
Yeah.
adventure. I think people need to realize that when you come to Africa, that things don't always run to schedule and things
Yes.
take time, right?
Exactly. So if you're perhaps a traveler that wants a tight schedule, trust me, you're on island time. I like to say when you go to the Caribbean, it's very similar to that.
Sure,
And that's okay.
sure. Although they were 4-star graded properties, would you agree that the actual experience that you had with the chimps and the gorillas was more like a 5 and a 6-star experience?
I would do that again especially with the gorillas. I would do that again in a heartbeat. It was funny. My group and I were comparing the gorillas to old men lying about, doing as they please, relaxing with the little ones running around. And they had a little bit of a sass and an attitude with each other. One would walk past one and kick the other one for seemingly no reason. And it was cute to see the dynamic and the experience. But yeah, no, for absolutely, that is really what you're there for. The gorilla trekking experience, it takes between 6 to 8 hours. And there are 5-star properties there. Abercrombie and Kent has a property right within that region.
You know what? It's a topic that I always like to talk about, is that I'm not sure that people need to spend money on the 5-star luxuries. One, when you come to Africa, you can still achieve the 5-star experience by staying in 3 and 4-star properties. It might not be that luxurious, you might not be flying in via helicopter or anything like that, but you're still getting the experience, which is something that you've gone there to get in the first place. You haven't trekked halfway across the world to go and sit in a jacuzzi because it's something different. This is something you can do back in the US, isn't it?
Exactly. And I truly believe that the reason why those 5-star properties there get such momentum is because of the solid marketing strategy that they push.
Tell me about your journey from leaving the States to getting to Kampala. What airline did you fly and why?
I flew Virgin Atlantic to London, and I love Virgin Atlantic because I'll tell you, the staff is just so cool, friendly. The people that fly Virgin Atlantic are so much fun. It's more my vibe. The flight was so fast from New York JFK. It takes out 6 hours. I feel like it's getting faster and faster. Now, the long trek was going from Uganda, from London, excuse me, you fly from Gatwick. And I flew Airlines. There's not a lot of frills per se or amenities. The number of movies are very limited. Television shows are fairly limited, but the staff is phenomenal, friendly. Food is great on the plane. And that flight was about just under 8 hours or so, so between 7 to 8 hours, arriving into Kampala. And then coming out, it was a little bit longer, by about 45 minutes.
Did you do that trip all in one go, the stopover in London, or did you actually stop over in London for a couple of days? I wanted to understand how that jet lag affected you.
What's fascinating for me, going east, it doesn't affect me. More going west affects me. I did not stop over. I literally took a bus from Heathrow to Gatwick. Super easy. I think it costs under 20 quid. And then when you get to the airport in Entebbe, Kampala is maybe about a half hour drive. There's one major highway. So it was very seamless. Flying home, that I did a stopover for 2 nights in London.
Once you arrived in Kampala, you found the people, as you say, very friendly. The infrastructure, it's obviously not the Hamptons, but how did you feel about the infrastructure and the people, the roads, that type of thing?
A lot of people walking, a lot of public transportation. Interestingly, there were not a lot of cars on the road as one may think. It's more trucks, buses, public transportation. There are no trains or anything like that. But I want to share the public transportation name in Uganda and what the vehicle is called. Boda bodas. You see a lot of boda bodas around.
Okay.
And I was told by locals from Kampala that if anyone needs a ride, you could just wave anyone down and they'll give you a ride. Now, a lot of people also take public transportation or shared transportation on motorcycles. The term boda bodas could mean van, minibus, or a motorcycle taxi. Motorcycle taxi, of course, is the cheapest way to get around, but it's also the most dangerous way to get around.
Outside of the chimps and the gorillas, what was the most exciting experience that you had during your time in Uganda?
Right after this, I think right after the same day we were gorilla trekking, I went to a community called Ride for a Woman. It is an enriching organization specifically for women who are facing challenges in poverty, domestic violence, single mothers, and it creates a beautiful impact through where they can do like basket weaving or other arts and crafts and sell them and make some money. It's also an opportunity for people could stay there at Ride for a Woman as well, travelers, so they could experience the local community there in Windy. That was a wonderful opportunity. I met a really incredible young woman there who couldn't have a child for 8 or 9 years. They couldn't figure out what was wrong. She went to the doctor and had some tests. They figured it all out. Then she had a beautiful daughter named Queen that was born about a year and a half ago. So I loved her story. What I loved too is when the women were working in this one room together, there were 2 or 3 really adorable children there under the age of 2, and you would never know who the mom was. All the women were so hands-on, taking care of them, and you don't see that at all in the United States. The one girl, Queen, who had her little beanie hat on, I said, "Who is her mom?" Her mom was all the way at the other end of the room.
Tell me about the culinary experiences that you had. Was there something that really stuck out that you thought, I'm not going to like that, but you ended up really loving it and you would do it again and you would suggest that somebody else try it?
Yes, definitely. I had the opportunity when I was staying at Chimpundu. We went into the local village there where the chimpanzees were, and I got to try banana rum, which was really delicious. The process that it's made does not look so appetizing because you have the fermented bananas in this canister. So that didn't look so appetizing, but it was really delicious. I got to try a lot of local coffee, and it was really cool to see how that process was. And we had one of the local dishes there, interestingly, is called rolex, and it's like a rolled, almost like a tortilla with cheeses and spices and meat and such. So that was really delicious as well. The food there was excellent. The avocados were so delicious. The fruit was excellent. Everything was so good. There was an abundance of food and it was all delicious.
Listen, the sign of good alcohol is that it doesn't give you a big hangover the next day. So after that banana rum, if you were pretty okay the next morning, then it's good stuff. I think Uganda's renowned for its coffee export, so you were probably quite spoiled there as well. What do you think you learned about yourself, Vanessa, after having gone on this trip and having experienced all the locals and that episode that you had with the chimps? What do you think you really found out about yourself?
What I definitely learned or relearned, if you will, we don't need a lot in life. We have a lot of excess. We don't need a lot of things. We don't need a lot of things to make us feel happy. It really, for me, helped me take a very serious look at my life, going, why am I holding on to all of this baggage physically and emotionally? I'm also going through a divorce at the moment, so I have a lot of personal changes going about, and I've let go of a lot. And this trip taught me that we don't need a lot to keep ourselves happy. And there's these simple joys of just slow life, taking it easy, taking walks, enjoying the outdoors.
It's never too late. It's all in the head, really. I wish you well over the divorce. I can't imagine that it's an easy thing, but it's something to test you, and you move on. If there was somebody that you met during your time that you'd like to give a shout out to,
Yes, Dr. Simplicius from the Ugandan Tourism Board was absolutely phenomenal. So I'd love to give a shout out to him and his team. Thank you so much for leading us and taking us around and showing us such an eye-opening and memorable experience. And I look forward to going back, hopefully sooner than later.
there are many fantastic opportunities on the African continent, and maybe that since I'm in the tourism business, I can excite you to go to other places. I'm glad to know that the flight wasn't an issue. I was chatting with somebody else the other day about trying to convince the American public to come to Mauritius more often. It is a bit of a flight, especially the jet laggy kind of thing, but compared to the Caribbean, I was doing some costings, and the costings are crazy expensive in the Caribbean versus places like Mauritius. So it's something to think about. I hope I can convince you to do that sometime. Some fantastic places. And I think what you'll find most importantly on the African continent is the people are just unbelievable. They're just really unbelievable. I haven't met too many Ugandans, but when you tell me that, I can fully understand it. Just as we end off, Vanessa, I just wanted to get an understanding of your costing that you incurred during this trip, just so that listeners could understand what they might be in for. You were away for, what was that, about 2 weeks, right? We don't have to talk about exact numbers, but if we took the airfare and that type of thing, per night, let's say, in US dollars, you traveled 4-star, you were comfortable, you ate and you drank and you enjoyed as much as you could. What do you think people should be looking at budgeting when they're traveling at that sort of level, if you like?
Interesting. I was not traveling during the high season. The high season for Uganda is in July or during the dry season. I would say you're looking comfortably at just under 15,000. Are you going with a tourism operator there? Think about things like that. Are you going with someone based in Europe or the United States? And it never hurts to reach out to the tourism board directly to see if they have any direction.
Just finally, what else is on your bucket list for Africa? I'm hoping that you've got that African bug in you and you want to see a little bit more of Africa. Give us 2 or 3 other countries that you'd really like to visit that you haven't been to before.
Yes, interesting. I met a lot of people from Rwanda when I was in Uganda. So Rwanda's on my list. I would love to go to Morocco, Algeria, Cote d'Ivoire. I really want to go all over. South Africa, certainly, and Namibia.
That's good. Hopefully we'll get you there. Vanessa, thank you very much for coming on the show. I'm sure the listeners are going to be super excited to hear about your trip and how security-wise it was just not an issue, and that walk with the chimps and the gorillas.
Yes, definitely. And to a safari in the Queen Elizabeth National Park. It was eye-opening, and the guides there are top-notch, and you're in wonderful hands.
What an uplifting conversation. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for sharing your story and giving us so much information about traveling to Uganda. Don't forget, every week we feature fantastic prize giveaways from some of Africa's most beautiful lodges, camps, and travel partners. You could win your own unforgettable getaway just by listening, subscribing, or visiting www.keeptraveling.africa/podcast, or read more about today's guest by looking through the show notes. Don't forget to follow Keep Traveling on social media for the latest episodes, stories, and travel inspiration. My name is 𝐸𝐿𝐥𝐬, and this has been Keep Traveling, your African story. Remember, a few years from now, you won't remember how much it cost you, but you'll always remember the memories you made. Keep traveling.